If we now open the add.php file, which we'll find inside of the shipping rates local, and start with the opening PHP tag, at the top we're going to start with the object form equals new form, and then we go for the object valid equals new validation class. We passing object form as parameter. Then we go for object valid expected array, and the fields which we are expecting in this call will be weight and cost. And if I copy this entire line, because required array is expecting exactly the same fields, so rather than expected this time, we're going to go for required. And now, after all this, we go for the try statement and catch exception as E. We echo helper JSON array error equals true, and then validation equals object valid errors messages. Now, why are we actually using separate try and catch statement here rather than the way we've done in a few of the previous files? Is because we're using the validation. I want the specific validation message to be actually returned to the JavaScript to display on the form. Now, inside of the try statement, we're going to start with if object valid is valid, and if obviously we have everything validated, we know that the fields have values, then we're going to proceed with our code. Else we're going to throw new exception, which will be caught by this catch statement here. And in the exception, we're going to simply type invalid request. After this, actually before we go to the next one, let's just use object valid so that actually this message which we're going to pass, because this exception is not basically this catch here statement only takes the errors messages array, so obviously that wouldn't be caught and displayed on the page. I mean, it will be caught, but it's not going to be displayed on the page. This is only to trigger basically this exception. So what we're going to do is add two errors, and we're going to assign it to the weight field, so it's basically displayed next to the weight field, and also the same message, so invalid request. Now we know that obviously our submission is validated and everything is fine, we check if object shipping is duplicate local, and we pass in the ID of the type, and then a zone ID plus object valid, we pass in the weight post weight. So if the record with a specific weight for the same type, shipping type and zone ID is already on the system, we obviously don't want to create a duplicate record. So what we do is I'm just going to copy this line, or rather these two lines basically. First of all, we're going to add two errors. Rather than invalid request, now we're going to display in the message duplicate weight. And the same thing we can pass to the exception. It doesn't really matter what message is going to be here, because as I said earlier, obviously we're not populating this message in order to send it to the output. We only basically using this errors from inside of the validation class. Let's move to the next video and continue with this file.